I'm 46 now. I've been running my own small business for 6 years, and on paper, things are fine.
But there's one relationship I think about more than any failed romance, and it's the one I keep realizing I was quietly responsible for ending.
It was a work relationship, a partnership, really. And for a long time, I told myself it just didn't work out. I don't say that anymore. Back then, I was 33. I'd just left a stable job I hated, and I was desperate to prove, to myself more than anyone else, that I wasn't making a mistake. I met him through a mutual friend. We started talking about an idea over coffee, then another coffee, then weekly meetings that didn't feel like meetings yet. We weren't close friends. We weren't strangers either. We were two people who thought we were being practical. He was better with people. Clients liked him immediately. He had a way of making things sound easy, even when they weren't. I was better with structure, timelines, contracts, numbers. I told myself that's why the partnership made sense. Balance. That's the word I used a lot. In the beginning, everything felt light. We worked out of a shared space with a leaky kettle and mismatched chairs. We stayed late sometimes, not because we had to, but because it felt good to be building something. We talked about work most of the time, but sometimes we talked about nothing. His kids, my failed attempts at relationships, the music he listened to on long drives. I remember thinking, this is what grown-up collaboration feels like. The first time I felt uneasy, nothing actually happened. He had a meeting with a potential client and didn't invite me. He texted afterward, said it went well, said we'd talk about it tomorrow. And that should have been fine. There was no rule that we had to be everywhere together, but I noticed my chest felt tight that night. I told myself it was just stress, new business, uncertainty, normal stuff. The next day, I asked a few extra questions about the meeting, not aggressively, just thoroughly. He answered them. We moved on. I told myself that was communication. Over time, I started wanting to be looped in earlier, not because I didn't trust him, at least that's what I said, but because it's better for alignment. I used that phrase a lot, alignment. If he made a decision without me, I'd say something like, next time let's sync first. If he spoke to a client in a way I wouldn't have, I'd say, we should probably standardize our messaging. It all sounded reasonable, professional, responsible. I didn't notice that I was slowly tightening the space around him. There was a point where he started saying, I'll check with you, more than he used to. At the time, that felt like teamwork to me. It felt like respect. Now I see it was hesitation. He used to throw ideas out casually, half-formed, messy, sometimes unrealistic. I liked that about him, but somewhere along the way I started responding with questions instead of curiosity. How would that scale? What's the budget? What's the risk? Again, reasonable questions, but they came fast, and they came every time. We had a shared calendar. At first, it was just for meetings, then deadlines, then reminders, then notes. I was usually the one adding things. One afternoon, he asked, half joking, do I need to ask permission to go to lunch now? I laughed, said he was exaggerating, but I remember feeling irritated too, like he was being unfair. That should have told me something.
The truth is, I was scared. I didn't know how to say that then. I barely know how to say it now.
I was scared that if he had too much freedom, I'd become unnecessary, that if clients liked him more, I'd fade into the background, that the thing I was building would stop needing me. So instead of becoming better, I became tighter. The damage didn't show up as fights. It showed up as silence. He stopped pushing back, stopped suggesting big changes, stopped staying late. He did what needed to be done, no more, no less. I told myself he was losing motivation. I told myself I was carrying more of the load. Sometimes I complained about it to friends, framing myself as the responsible one, the adult, the one keeping things afloat. I believed that version of myself. The end didn't come dramatically. One afternoon, he asked if we could talk. We sat in the same mismatched chairs we'd started in years earlier. He said he felt boxed in, that he didn't feel like a partner anymore, that he felt managed. I remember saying, that was never my intention, and I meant it. He nodded, but he didn't look relieved. A few weeks later, he said he wanted out. At the time, I was angry. Not loud angry, quiet angry. I told myself he couldn't handle structure, that he wanted freedom without responsibility, that some people just aren't built for partnership. I bought out his share, took over everything. The business survived, which for a while felt like proof that I was right. It wasn't until years later that I started noticing something. Every new collaboration felt familiar. Different people, same pattern. At first, things flowed. Then slowly I'd feel uneasy. I'd start organizing, clarifying, tightening, and eventually people would either pull away or become passive. I told myself I was just particular, until one person said something that sounded too close to home. I feel like I can't breathe in this setup.
That sentence stayed with me. Not because it was cruel, because it was calm.
I started replaying old conversations, old emails, the tone I used, the way I framed decisions as shared, even when I'd already made up my mind. I realized something uncomfortable. I wasn't collaborating, I was containing. I had always thought control looked like dominance, raised voices, demands, ego. Mine didn't look like that. Mine looked like responsibility, like being prepared, like caring too much. But underneath it was the same thing. Fear of being replaced, fear of being less essential than I needed to feel.
There's no big moment where I fixed this. No apology that rewrote the past.
I never reached out to him to explain. It felt too late, and honestly it felt self-serving, like I'd be asking for relief, not offering anything useful. What I did instead was sit with the realization that I had taken something that could have been shared and made it smaller, safer for me, harder for someone else.
If you're listening to this and something feels familiar, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I don't have advice that fits on a sentence.
I just know that for a long time I confused control with care and structure with safety. I thought if I held things tightly enough, nothing could fall apart. I didn't understand that sometimes what you're holding is the very thing that needs room. I still catch myself doing it, that urge to manage before trusting, to define before listening, to secure my place instead of earning it. I notice it now, that's all. Some relationships don't come back once you see them clearly. They just become part of the cost of learning who you were. I live with that, and most days that's quite enough.
If any part of this felt familiar, consider liking and subscribing. It helps these stories reach the people who are already living them.
And if you've ever realized that you were quietly part of an ending, not through a fight, not through a decision, but through small moments that added up,
Tell me about it in the comments, because the next story might sound more like yours than you expect.